Hey guys, so it's been a very long time since we've done a Q&A video, but in this one, I wanted to cover the most frequently asked questions that I get in my stream, since I don't think I've ever done a frequently asked questions video before, and if I have, it's like years and years and years ago, and no one's going to look up those super old videos. So here we go. Most frequently asked questions. Timestamps in the description. Timestamps are also on the YouTube timeline because I format things properly for your convenience. And yes, this video is scripted. I am reading off a script because I'm bad at talking. First question, Datto. How did you get your name? My name, Datto, comes from Final Fantasy X. In Final Fantasy X, there's a minigame called Blitzball, and Datto was a player on your original team. I used Datto very frequently as a kid due to his high speed and scoring stats when you leveled him up. And yes, I know other characters scale up a little bit better than Datto does. Okay, I still want to use Datto. All right, get off me. And as a result of me playing Blitzball, the minigame, for so long, my friends just started to call me Datto, and it stuck. And it's been almost 20 years now that my nickname has been Datto. So that's why I'm Datto. Question number 2. How'd you get into Destiny? What drew you to Destiny? I got into Destiny because I wanted my crippling World of Warcraft addiction back, but minus the giant time commitment. And Destiny seemed like a good mix of MMO and shooter, both of which I was very into at the time. An MMO shooter never really felt like it had been done super well before, and after trying Firefall way back when, I wanted something a little bit more, how do you say, good. Yeah. As for making YouTube content on Destiny, I had recently stopped making content on my Call of Duty channel because of burnout, but I wanted to do something while I was in between jobs working in the television industry, and Destiny was interesting enough that I was like, all right, let's make some videos on this. Why not? But I also always kind of had a feeling in the back of my mind that if I started early enough that I might be able to make it into a full-time thing. And what do you know? Here we are. 7 years later. I'm going to get water. Here's your third question. Which do you prefer more? Destiny 1 or Destiny 2? I am going to punch myself in the face if I have to answer Destiny 1 versus Destiny 2 one more time. So here we go. Ultimately, I prefer Destiny 2 over Destiny 1. I think that most people tend to glorify Destiny 1's prime time experiences like Vault of Glass, the launch of Trials, Taken King, bits of Rise of Iron, and they don't really ever look at the major content gaps or the issues or problems that we had with the game at the time. Nostalgia is a big part of Destiny 1's appeal, although there are definitely some things in or that haven't happened in Destiny 2 that were around in Destiny 1, like factions actually mattering, but that's a whole other video topic. Destiny 2 obviously didn't start as well as it maybe could have, but I ultimately prefer the Destiny 2 experience over the Destiny 1 experience, even if their experiences can be pretty similar in the grand scheme of the franchise. D1 also gets bonus points for being brand new at the time. So the feeling of playing a new game, new experiences, all those things kind of factor in. Whereas the more experienced we get with the game in Destiny 2, the more jaded I feel like people get, whether it's deserved or not. So that is, that's another factor as to why I think people romanticize Destiny 1 a lot. I'm not saying Destiny 2 is perfect. We all know it's not. But I just prefer Destiny 2 over Destiny 1. Next question. What is your favorite of the following? Class, subclass, dungeon, raid, exotic, armor set, and expansion? I forgot to put an answer. Please hold. My favorite class is Titan and has been since the beginning of Destiny. I like the melee-centric combat of the Titan. I like their movement. I like their utility. I like their exotics. I just like them the most. Subclass-wise, I've been using bottom tree hammers the most recently. But if middle tree gets like a good exotic to pair with it, I think I might switch to middle tree like almost full time. But the utility of bottom tree is just might be a little too good. Dungeon. Favorite dungeon. It's tough, but I do think it is Prophecy over Shattered Throne at this point. Prophecy gets some bonus points for being a more difficult solo, in my opinion, as well. The only thing I wish Prophecy did a little bit more of was have some slight variance in each of the main encounters. I know having the same mechanic throughout an experience is like the Destiny way and stuff like that, but if it just had like a little bit of variance in each of the encounters, even if they were all using really the same mechanic, I think it would have been easily the best. Shattered Throne is close, mostly still on like nostalgia and atmosphere of the dungeon. Raid. My favorite raid is Last Wish. I think it's the best raid that Bungie has ever done for sure. I think a part of that absolutely has to do with the world first race for me, but also because Forsaken was really good. I just really love Last Wish. Riven is also a really fun encounter, so that helps. Wrath of the Machine is my second favorite. Axis is a very, very, very good encounter. It's not my favorite, though. My favorite raid boss encounter is Golgoroth if you're not doing the one orb strat. When you're doing that fight the way that I imagine it was designed to be done, using actually all of the orbs, it's incredibly satisfying to execute on that strategy and having all these moving parts moving together simultaneously in the correct way. It feels like the most like an MMO raid boss encounter to me. Very, very satisfying to do. My favorite exotic of all time, as you probably know, is Hawkmoon from specifically year one of Destiny. I think it was one of the best weapons we've ever had. PvE, PvP, you name it. It was satisfying to shoot. Everything about it was quality. Its weapon ornaments were amazing. My favorite exotics currently that I'm actually using are either Trinity Ghoul or Ruinous Effigy. They're both insane right now. They're both really, really good. Favorite armor set is probably still anything from the Destiny 1 Age of Triumph raid armor set sort of revamps. They're all amazing. All amazing. And expansion, I think, is Forsaken, but obviously the next is going to be Taken King. It's like right there. They're like neck and neck. Both did such good for the franchise, but I just ended up liking Forsaken a little bit more. Whew. Water. Next question. Datto. If you could make an exotic, what would you make? My exotic, which I came up with in a hurry a couple of months ago because I was getting a lot of questions to the surprise of absolutely no one, would be called No Questions Asked. And it would be a special weapon Flamethrower, short range, that has bonus stacking damage the longer you keep a target on fire, and the target would leave fire on the ground if it died to said fire. Not the most exciting exotic, to say the least. I know that's probably a very unsatisfying answer. A flamethrower is not really that original and of an idea, but I think people just got a kick out of the name. And the flavor text, which I said would be, turns out when you have fire, people don't want to ask you a lot of questions, which I had changed from something else, but I don't think that other flavor text would be appropriate at this particular moment in time, given the state of the world. Next question. Why is your clan called Math Class? Back when my clan was called Prime Guard, we had two raid teams for Crota's End. One of them was called Math Class, they self-named, and the other was called Knights on Right. When we branched off into our own clan, Math Class was one of over 200 names that went onto a list of names, potential names that were going to make the clan, and it is the one that we ultimately decided that we hated the least. And so we just said, screw it, Math Class, Space Owl, logo, that's it. So that's why we're Math Class. Next question, what does 2402 mean? 2402 is a reference to my team's world third completion of Last Wish, where we missed getting the 24-hour emblem by 2 minutes. Hence 2402. I embraced the meme basically immediately, as you might have seen on my merch, because if you do not embrace the meme, it will destroy you. Next question. Why do you stick with Destiny? I stick with Destiny because anything else that I try to cover turns to ash in my hands, except for maybe like Monster Hunter World. I stick with it. Let's just actually answer it seriously. I stick with it because I still enjoy the gameplay and I still enjoy playing with my friends and I still very much enjoy my job on most days. Is every day a banger of a day when your job is covering video games? Of course not. Plenty of days that feel very much like work, and sometimes work sucks. But I really can't imagine myself doing much else, probably because I'm not qualified to do much else other than this. Next question. How successful do you think you would have been if you had stuck to doing Call of Duty content on your old channel? The answer is not very successful at all. It took me 2.5 years to hit 2,800 subscribers. That is not a really, that's not really a full-time position numbers wise. It was a market that was very, very, very overly saturated. It required you to be pulling off these insane gameplays all the time for you to even have a chance at hitting the big time. I am not that level of player, nor have I ever been, nor will I ever will be. And I mean, obviously, I also entered the market way, way, way too late. So yeah, I would not have been successful continuing to make Call of Duty content. Next question. Would you ever want to be a community manager for a game? Hell no. Absolutely not. What I do right now is community manager adjacent with regards to social media, I feel like, except I get to actually talk back to some of you who to talk smack to me on Twitter. Okay? If you're a community manager, you don't really get to do that too much. So that's a hard pass. I know what people do to community managers. I know what I've said to community managers. You know? Not my proudest moments. But no. I'm not about that life at all. Miss me with that. Next question. If you were not covering Destiny, what game would you be covering, or would you want to cover? What game would you want to cover? My plan with YouTube, once I realized that I might be able to make this a full-time job, was Destiny. If Destiny did not work out, that would have been it. I would have just stopped YouTube. That's it. It was Destiny or it was nothing. I put all of my time into this game in particular, and there are not many other games out there that I feel like have the staying power needed to sustain for a long period of time. You know, I've been doing this 7 years. There's not many other franchises on YouTube that are lasting 7 years. You know, plus, again, look at most of the other games that I've tried to cover on YouTube since launching this channel. Most of those haven't really done too well, except for, like, again, Monster Hunter World has probably been doing pretty good. I don't really have any other games that I would want to cover right now in a full-time capacity, even if I had my choice of game, and could have, you know, like the same viewership. I guess maybe World of Warcraft, but I've kind of fallen off the wagon with World of Warcraft, and WoW doesn't really need the coverage that I do for Destiny. Yeah. The answer to what I would be doing if it was not Destiny was or is I don't know. I wouldn't be on YouTube, and I have no idea where I would be right now if I was not doing this. Not a clue in the world. Maybe, hopefully, I would have made it as an editor in Los Angeles by now, but who knows for sure. Next question. How much longer do you think you'll be heavily Destiny focused before variety takes over, if ever? On YouTube, I don't think variety ever takes over. The channel is too focused on Destiny for me to ever be able to pivot to variety full time, at least while the Destiny franchise is active. Maybe once Destiny ends, I could try, but I think at that point I would probably just hop to live streaming full time. We do variety on Twitch every so often. I think it's a little bit easier to do, but trying to maintain both YouTube and live streaming at a full-time level, very difficult. Very difficult. And I also think I'd rather just let the channel end on like a high note as opposed to trying to support it with non-Destiny content, unless things really kind of blew up big or I was having a lot of fun with it. Speaking of which, next question. Do you have any plans for when Destiny ends? At the moment, the first thing I'm going to do is disappear for like a month or two and just give myself some time away from the internet and videos and content creation and everything. I've never really planned on continuing to do content creation after Destiny ends because I just never really envisioned myself doing it for the rest of my life. It was never like the thing that I was like, I'm gonna be a content creator forever. The thought of doing that forever stresses me out to a level that I can't even imagine. I would not like. It's tough. Go check out the most recent or GG Over Easy podcast number 45. Towards the end, we kind of talk about that kind of stuff. Yeah, I was not planning on doing this for the rest of my life. If I had to declare what I was going to do right now, what I'm going to do when Destiny's over, it would probably be stream on Twitch or whatever platform I end up streaming on, until I inevitably find a different career path that I enjoy. I'm open to covering another game, but Destiny is just it's one of those once in a decade kind of games. And I don't have a lot of faith that I'd be able to find another game to cover on YouTube in the same way, plus bringing over my entire audience over to it. Sorry, that one was a little long-winded. Next question. With your current experience in content creation, what types of videos do you think you'd be good at making that are not gaming focused? Probably just any sort of educational content. But I don't really think I'm an expert in any other fields that would warrant the creation of said content. I could probably help other people produce their content, whether I'm a consultant or a producer, more than I would create my own or could create my own. Again, I originally set out to do YouTube solely to do guides on Destiny. That was my only plan. And if it didn't work, I was out of luck. So my horizons aren't exactly zero dawn, if you know what I mean. Next question. What are your hobbies outside of Destiny? Honestly, up until a few months ago, the answer would have been, I don't have any. Gaming has always been my number one hobby until a few months ago, which is why I think I started to experience a lot of burnout. Lately, it has been sneakers. I've been getting into sneakers a lot. I don't know if you can really call the stock market a hobby, but I guess the stock market as well. I've been investing a bit more than I have historically. I used to just save everything that I earned from YouTube, only, using it to pay off debt and making necessary purchases, and otherwise it just sat in the bank. But after realizing that if I had invested that money properly when it started to come in, I would be in an even better position that I am today. So I'm starting to invest a bit more. The sneaker stuff, on the other hand, was assisted in part by my trip to Japan last year and the makeover that I did a couple of years ago. I just wanted to look not like how I did, and I wanted to step up my fashion game a little bit more, new hairstyle. But then late last year, 2019, I wanted to step up my shoe game a bit more as well, and I fell face first right into sneakers, down the rabbit hole, the full Morpheus, right? The pill and everything. I'm deep. People have asked me for a sneaker collection video, but I'm waiting for my collection to be a little more robust first if I do one, before I do one. I will show you guys some of my favorite pairs though, because people have been asking me about that. So this is my number one favorite pair right here. Focus. There it is. This is the Purple Lobster Nike. Spoilers, it's the same on both sides. But yeah, this is easily my favorite shoe. I love me a good purple shoe, and this is just, whew, this is a good shoe. That's a good shoe right there. This one, a little bit of a different kind of purple. These ones just came out, assuming you're watching this video in mid to late July 2020. The Jordan 5s. Love me some purple. The pair that I like wearing the most as of right now, Jordan 1 Zoom Racer Blue. Love these. Love these. These are fantastic. Some other recent pickups. Just University Red Dunks. Focus. I had to pick these up resell because I did not win on the sneakers raffle, because who does? Oh, these are probably top three favorite pairs. Chunky Dunks, the Ben & Jerry's collab. These I did actually win from a raffle, and if I did not win them from a raffle, I would not have them right now. So very, very happy to have gotten these. I think they're wacky as all hell. These are also quite recent, as of July 2020. These are the Jordan 14 Toro Reds. These are more recent pickups that I'm doing. I do like these. I don't know if I'll ever get around to wearing them, but I did really, really like them. And it's a black and white and red Jordan shoe, so like, you know, it's going to be good. And the last, most recent pickup, the Jordan Top 3 in the primarily black. I do like the Jordan 5 a whole lot. It's probably my second favorite model other than the Jordan 1. So those are some recent pickups and some of my favorites. The next question is, how did you meet Danielle? I met Danielle through Jez, actually. Jez and Amy, Amy is Jez's wife, were coming to visit Seattle for a couple of days back in October 2018. And so I was just going to take them out to dinner. Danielle had become a part of Jez's community, you know, being in his streams a lot, actually appearing in a couple of his videos. And she also happened to be visiting Seattle that same weekend. So Jez asked me if she could come along, and I was like, sure, I don't care. And we hung out more that night after dinner, after she texted me if she could come hang out at my place. And I said to her, and I quote, "I'm just going to be working so you can play Destiny on my laptop," end quote. And that didn't happen. We ended up chatting for 5 hours straight instead, and just kind of hit it off. I've linked a video in the description that can give a little bit more context. I'd actually met Danielle previously, but I kind of treated it as just like a fan interaction, more or less, because I'm very used to meeting a lot of people. So yeah, that's how we met, and we've been going ever since. Next question. What's up with Datto Does Dinner? Are you going to make it more of a thing? Are we going to ever see it again? What's going on with Datto Does Dinner? Datto Does Dinner became a thing because I was just really bored one day and I thought it would be funny to do a cooking stream. The character is just me pretending I know a lot about the character is just me pretending that I know a lot about cooking when in reality, I don't know anything about cooking. I never expected it to become this big hit. It was just like a thing that I wanted to do for fun once, and that was it. I didn't plan on making it long term. It's why you haven't really seen anything else since the one I uploaded on YouTube. I just haven't done them because I haven't really felt inspired to do them. And the only reason I continued to really do them was because people were just ravenous for it. They're like, when are you going to do another one? The last one we did was donuts back at the very end of 2019. I think literally the last day of 2019. I do have that recorded. Maybe I'll edit it together. Who knows? But it's been a very long time. I do owe another Datto Does Dinner though, and Jez is going to be my sous chef. That was through the Gaming Community Expo charity stream. So look out for that one on Twitch and maybe YouTube if I record it and decide to edit it all together. I promise you, I don't think anything's gonna live up to the hype though. So just don't get your hopes up if I do something. Okay, just do me that favor. Just don't get your hopes up because a lot of planning goes into those. It's not the spur of the moment thing that I make it seem like it is. I do a lot of preparation. I try to write some material for it. They are much tougher than I might lead you guys to believe they are. So, yeah. Finally, last question. Again, hobby-related question. Why do you cosplay as a girl, Datto? What is up with that? What's going on? I know it's weird. I answered this in another Q&A last year, but the quick reason, is I was inspired by this guy named Sneaky, who is a professional League of Legends player, who is also, who does a lot of girl cosplays. And I was like, oh man, that looks like fun. I bet I could do that. And then I did. And that's it. I'm a dude like all the time. So, wow, I need water. I'm a dude like all the time. And I just wanted to try something different and also get an appreciation for what women go through whenever they gotta, put on all that makeup. It's a pain. It's a pain in the ass. It's a pain. But yeah, that's why I do it. Okay. That is all of the most commonly asked questions that I get on my stream that I can answer in a video. Hopefully this was a fun watch for you guys. If you do have more questions that you would like me to answer, feel free to throw them in the description. And if we get enough that I can answer in a video, I'll make another one. Why not, right? Why the hell not? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.